at the end, because I promised, there will be this video that is about how that works when there is, as if in third person, which is explained in those videos, a person is being deprived of the identity to speak on behalf of a group. Because I made it to and with intent to improve work of police officers and their quality of life, so that the society is safer and federal government can work, and I can use also the society to thrive in it at work, and also if having family as a family. I would like to explain how that works when it comes to a crime committed. So there was a person who committed crime of passion. How do I know that that person, the African American first man who was killed by a Caucasian American, who killed that person with only knee touching the person's neck and pressing on it? How do I know that it was not premeditated? Because a police person is trained also to evade killing or harming, and if doing such, is trained to do so with least loss possible, also in body parts. So that person was provoked to feel hatred and had such feeling because of the other one, the African American, was part of a group or one person who has harassed that police officer, causing him to snap it out of the training and scope of police work, and have that person killed in rage, which is denominated to that rage passion, with a knee. That is neither murder nor it is racism, because to have racism, persons have to have organized system to eliminate persons of belonging to a given group, and that is not in the United States the case at all. Racism is originated from having unwanted sexually, especially persons, forcing family members or childhood known persons on a person who left or who has had love and sex above a certain degree of pleasure, sexual pleasure, in love with someone else who does not look alike the persons from country of origins, and is being as if regressed by force to have persons from country of origins forced sexually, and that creates the need to use force to push these persons away, to stay safe, and to also avoid persons committing crimes in self-defense, being pursued or harassed sexually, to, for instance, abandon workplace, or to have, for instance, shared accommodations with persons who are unloved, or become driven in pain to pursue unwanted person, for example, for health insurance from that country forced on that person. And that is what racism is derived from, and that the disgust is made in racism from having two persons in a couple who desired one another in love enough to conceive a child, were separated, and then someone else who is desired less because of less love than the other person lived from a dream to in person, in physical way, who is still loved and loving, that other person forces self-sexually. It means that that disgust is to protect physical body from contact with a person who is not wanted sexually. And when it is in a society that is deluded, all is read as sexual contact, and persons who have a harmonious marriage are unable to work. Why? Because if I am in love with a person, then I don't want others that I do not wish to have sex with that person, nor that person wants others to look at that person, because that person prefers me to look at that person and give that person love and sex. And then from that have children and have that love and sex and love making with that person extended to love and kindness and politeness to children. In system that has some crime like that was committed, a crime of passion, a police officer at work, trained one, lost it and committed an act of atrocity, killed a person. That's how we phrase it. A person killed. It was not cold-blooded murder, nor that was an organized murder to eliminate persons of certain race from, for instance, to protect multicultural or multi-race marriages, which it should not be called racism, but is also manifested as racist to those who do not understand because they married the first person they've kissed. They were lucky, fantastic. Some of us needed to look more and chose then the person who we worked with together, who we achieved the same education with, as more as likelier person to have sex and know the degree of sacrifice that it takes to give up a profession, for example. That is how it works. It's not discrimination, it is just how we then have appreciation of how much that person loves me to give up profession to marry me and to have my children instead, and vice versa, how much that person does not want me to touch and be with others, and how much that person knows that that causes deaths around and is able to accommodate for others to take over what it is that I am offering. If there is a crime in system of a legal system in which there is hierarchy, so for instance policeman killed someone, that crime goes all the way in presidential system to the president, who is in fact the boss of every single policeman, even the one in the traffic. And so that officer, when that person killed that African American man, he committed, if that president of the United States does not take an action, he commits crime hiding or collaboration called aiding or abetting. And if that police would not take a role to become confessing that he did so and he did something wrong, and or the system would not arrest that policeman on behalf of the president of the United States chosen in elections to represent all of us, okay, so on behalf of all of us and on behalf of Senate, and would not arrest that, then the president of the United States commits indeed treason, meaning that person does not protect institutions of the United States if that person would not respond. Now, the president of the United States did respond, meaning the person was arrested and placed in custody and is facing trial in charges who are inaccurate simply to what has happened, and offend actually the de facto training that is provided to some extent to that police and to others, and that has to be reviewed. But that adjustment, one would hope, is an adjustment, not something to start from scratch, because person with knees attacks persons for whatever reason, based on past trauma, for instance, for which a person needs kindness from at least one African American person to associate that not all African Americans discriminate and hate white persons like I too, which is very difficult actually for me. I've not yet witnessed that. That is to say, the system, like the waving of ego, meaning speaking on about myself, I am just one of the doctors, I'm a doctor, or I am just one of the activists. Speaking on behalf of a group, when I speak, is to delegate to the higher than authority when there is a hierarchy. So for instance, when I speak, if I am not, but if I am an officer, if I speak on behalf, or an agent, if I speak on behalf of an agency and say, I, Dr. Justina Agnieszka Chevalier, I have done let's say, I took a pack of cigarettes from an African American, and that person says he is the one who did so, and I said no, it was me, and then I say, oh no, I'm sorry, I apologize, I offered that person one cigarette, not whole pack, and that person did not want that one cigarette, grabbed my entire pack, wanting to rob me, and then I refused that, so we started to struggle because that was my pack that I paid for. and that was witnessed by two police officers that did not respond and did not mediate so that I can keep my property and am not forced whenever a person asks who is minority to share, which is, I would like to also say, a formal report of crime and negligence done in Los Angeles, California by two police officers who were street cops about maybe 3 months ago, perhaps a bit longer, maybe a bit about 6 months, and is to me discrimination against white female that is single, to disable being single and force a mandatory affiliation with some males that I don't want. That's what that institution of anonymous policeman is for. That I don't want to have anything to do with sex, so that I can choose if I want to marry or date whoever I love the best, be it a policeman or not. I mean, that is not, you know. And so that is when something bad happens. If that agent, for instance, or police officer committed a crime, and that crime consisted of kneeling on a person because the person lost composition of the police objectivity and killed a person, and that if the president would not respond, or the other way around, say, I, Donald Trump, I am the one who killed that African American, that is false. Is 100% false, and that is not how it works, because then that burdens that one crime as if all of the United States of America's police officers killed African Americans or harbored hatred, and destabilizes the whole freaking system, including president. No, individual responsibility is that the person, even if it's a smallest of the villages, if that person committed a crime, it is on that person each, and that is, then that person has to say, I committed crime. If person is angry or sad, that means that that person, if angry and saying no, I did not commit it, that means that that person is innocent. And if that person says, why are you accusing me? It's unfair. That means also that person did not do so and is grieving that that person is being good and is being accused of it, or is accused of something in disproportionate to others' way. Others looted, for instance, a whole truckload of cigarettes, and that person only took one pack from me. And I paid for the cigarettes, and he did not understand that, so went and just took cigarettes because they were his, according to him, and others looted the store like here. And that is how the system is. When it is a good thing and the person wants to waive an achievement, such agent or such police, and says, oh, I saved life of a truck driver, that truck driver would have died if it was not for me, and then delegated to police and firemen, and I want to waive the recognition for it and say, in fact, it was because how well Donald Trump pays me. As a human and animal activist, a graduate of leadership education in the neurodevelopmental disorders, and behavioral experts trained in two softwares, that is doing this for free as well on her own will, because there are some policemen that I actually think that they have brains and capacity to perform work in this country. Fingers crossed that they will stay that way, nobody will harm them. Now, that is my motivation. And the rest, that then they can catch up, having the other ones trained to teach them. You know what I mean? And so that waving the good deed says, it's not me, humbly, it is President of the United States. He's so good that this is him who is actually has saved that man. Or that is because of the mentors and other persons who provided that education, that this was that good. Then that is how that president then is praised. Accusing a person because someone committed a crime, or distorting reality to have the person who has done something good constantly demeaned, degraded, and presented as someone bad to steal reputation, also is bad and untrue and punishable under the system of the United States, being also, if we plan to be signees of International Human Rights Declaration or animal rights, punishable with international tribunal courts of justice with death, also with death, okay? So if somebody murders by numbers, is in anonymously also being investigated to face death penalty. And that is also my work and work of all of other human rights activists